Hello everyone, so I am very excited to give my first update on the book I announced back in October. So here we are, this is the journey of writing a book on death for witches. So I've said this a few times and I'll just give a brief recap. Basically, I've gone to books a few times in need after experiencing a death or know that one's coming up, and it never has what I need it to have. And so I've been pretty ticked, honestly, that it doesn't have what I need. And so then I decided to write a book because I had a collection of different things I had written and I was like, hey, maybe it can help somebody else. And then I didn't really flesh it out much because I didn't want it to be too fluffed of like information that I was like, nobody's gonna need that. Like it's easily accessible. And the reality is that shockingly not everyone is morbidly curious and doesn't know all of that. And so, like, every death I learn new different avenues of the chaos that is the death industry and how to process it, and from the different angles that people will be processing and doing things. And so, yeah, I decided to add the fluff and to revamp it and do things a little differently. And I feel like I'm way more better qualified now to do it. And I think this has given me a huge key, like, thing for my writing career as a whole, because so many authors tell you to be a better writer, you need to read a lot and you need to write a lot. And that is something that I have been doing in the witchcraft arena. And I'm like, oh my God, maybe it actually does work in all aspects. Because if y'all don't know, I've read like 60 something witchcraft books this year and I have more to go. And because of that, on top of writing a bunch of rituals, experiencing a lot, I've come to realize certain things that I like in my own craft and things that I would like to see in other books that other people have talked about wanting in books. And so it's kind of just slowly gotten to this point where, like, obviously no book is going to be perfect, but I have vague ideas of like what I want my book to have now. So I currently have it outlined and it is a big outline. So it is going to be 9 parts plus an introduction. So technically 10 parts. So the introduction has 3 chapters that if you want to read about it, you can. If not, that's cool. Like, some people don't read introductions, that's fine. But basically the first chapter is going to be talking about my experience with death to just kind of give some background on who I am as a person and like where I'm coming from on the topic, at least at the time of writing and then editing and all of that jazz. The second chapter is going to be like the purpose of the book and what I aim to have it do. And then the last one is my concept of death and the afterlife and all things in that arena, because I feel like that is a bit important to have so that you know, for the author's standpoint, why they say the things they do. I'm gonna try and make it pretty accessible to a lot of traditions, but inevitably, like, I know that I'm probably gonna have verbiage of like, they're going to move on to being an ancestor, and like, maybe you don't believe that. And it's like, well, so stuff like that I'm like, I should probably have a chapter about that just to clear it up. So, and my concept is very woo-woo, very out there, so that's great. Then we're moving into part 1, and then basically all of the other parts are different areas of experiencing death, so you can flip to whatever section you're gonna need. So like the first part that I'm working on right now is preparation for death, so hopefully this is you have some time to process and get ready before the person actually is dying. With the last death that we just had in October, this would be from the time that she was diagnosed and that we knew, oh shit, things are going down. And so you have a little bit of time to prepare. Also would be the time when my mother-in-law was in the hospital and she only had, we didn't know it at the time, but she had about a week left. And so it would be rituals and things to help during that time, but could also be used at other points. Like right now, I'm currently writing about some low effort witchcraft, and I don't know if I'm gonna keep that, but also that's exactly how it is. Because when you're grieving and when you're very emotional and you're going through a lot, sometimes you don't have a lot of emotional like oomph to give. Your brain, your energy, everything that is you is going into other things, the logistics of stuff. And so you might not have it in you to go do a big elaborate ritual, but you might have it in you to like take a bath. And specifically for bath people, like people who always do baths are gonna wanna probably have a bath. But people who normally don't, that might be too much. But If you want to do something a little extra, maybe a bath is an option, or I'm gonna have a shower option probably. And then also along those lines to have make a tea option. Get the same benefits in a way, but not have to do all of that, but please do shower or bathe of some kind, because even though you're sad, people would like to not have your smell. And then from there, all of the different sections are going to go through the process of, you know, once the person has died, funerals, you know, all of that, the fun joys of going through a death. And then I also have a couple chapters on like when animals pass, because it's similar but not quite the same as when people pass. And then working with ancestors, where maybe you just want a book on death and eventually you'll get there, but right now, like, you don't have anybody who's passed. You don't actively have a death coming up, at least that you know of, you know? And so you just want to start working with the ancestors, and you don't really have, like, your grandparents are still alive, your parents are still alive, your siblings are still alive, your friends are still alive. You haven't experienced the death part yet when it really impacts you, but you want to start working with your ancestors. There's going to be a chapter for just that, and you can skip right to there, and then that book will be available on your shelf as needed. Because inevitably, the other parts will come up, and eventually it might get dated as the death industry changes and whatnot, because, like, the new options are coming out all the time. Like, just, I think the last month or so, it got legalized to have aquamation as an option in California, and I'm like, I need to know more. Like, how does one go about that? Because I want that. For the record, if I die, please make it so that I can be aquamated. I don't know if that's the official way to change that verbiage, but you know what I mean? Your corpse basically gets one hot bath, and then the rest of you is put either down the drain, like they would do during an embalming, or they also might put you on, like, trees and stuff, because I don't think it would be really bad for the environment. Like, it'd be better for the environment. I don't know. I swear she said that they, like, put you in, like, a container and they, like, spray you on trees. That would be cool, but I don't know if that falls into the category of, like, human composting, because people have a huge issue with that, which is stupid. But, like, anyways, moral of the story, obviously, it's not legal in a lot of places. I don't know how many states it's legal, but, like, not many. Like, I think it's California and Oregon. Maybe Colorado? Like, there's not a whole lot that are like, let's turn a human body into soup and then grind up the bones and give them to the family. Because that's what happens. You get clean bones, and then it's given to the family to spread as ashes wherever they so desire. And so I just don't know that that's, like, a thing yet here in Utah. But I hope in the next, like, 60 or 70 years or whatever, that becomes an option, so when my time comes, I can become soup and have one last really hot bath, and then, you know, not go down in flames or be gross in the ground, rotting slowly. Neither of those options sound fantastic. Hot bath and then done sounds phenomenal, because I really love hot baths, so I feel like I'd be fine. I'd be fine with that one. Is it ridiculously complicated? Yes. There's so many laws and everything, but yeah. That was a side tangent, but I'm really excited about that it's slowly getting passed throughout little bits here and there. So eventually this book will get outdated as things get legalized and not, and all of that stuff, but hopefully it'll at least get the majority, and of course it's going to be centered around United States. I think it's similar in, like, most places, kind of. Like Canada, I think it's going to be pretty similar. I'm thinking most of Europe it'll probably be similar, but I don't know. I don't live there. And trying to find conversations on the death industry is pretty hard on a good day, let alone for, like, witches in other parts of the world. So we're just mostly running off of United States death culture. So anyways, basically where I'm at right now for the writing aspect of this book is I am finishing up chapter 4 and 5 today, and the outlining process that I have as, like, a game plan of getting things done is to write 2 chapters every day that I work in the week. So right now I have 4 working days in which I am recording, editing, and writing. That's what I do those days. And then on the weekends and, like, before and after when I, like, start work, because I work for myself so I can kind of set my timelines, that is when I will be reading. So I usually will take that time, like, in the morning, read a few chapters, and then, like, when I take a break in the afternoon, read another couple chapters, and then at night, read a couple chapters, and then over the weekends spend a little bit more time reading, especially on like the fiction books because they're gonna take a lot longer. They're bigger than the witchy books. That way I'm getting a lot done. I have a lot of reading that I'm planning on doing next year, and also writing. I am planning on publishing a lot next year, so I need to get on it. And I just want this book to get like a high priority on my list, and it writes so much easier than fiction, and so it goes a lot faster and doesn't feel as hard because you're not having to describe things and like how your characters feel, and like the inner editor can just like not exist when I'm writing witchy book stuff because like I kind of feel qualified. Like obviously I'll go in and edit, but it's not the same as the chaos that is writing fiction, where you have to worry about your plot, subplot, character development, and like the alliterations that you need to sprinkle in there all the time. This is just more like right now practicality of like write down stuff, and it's not written from someone in the death industry, just as a witch who's been practicing for 13 years. And so keeping that in mind, I mention it here and there and stuff, but it's like I can just easily write that. It's basically just trying to write a script of a video, expand it a bit, and then I get to fluff it up a little bit here and there with some additional like explanations that I normally wouldn't have to do in a video, and that's it. And it's long, don't get me wrong, because like my video outlines often are very short and just like bullet points, and this is like full sentences, but it flows so much easier than fiction. So that's why I'm like, I can handle 2 chapters a day, which will leave me with a completed draft hopefully by the end of the year, which I am so excited to get to. I would love to have completed draft of my death book and then a completed fiction book as 2 first drafts that are just ready to go into the new year, and it'll be very exciting. So obviously the death book is going to be pretty big with it being 55 chapters, so I don't know the exact of the word count I'm aiming for, but off of a rough estimate, I'm guessing it's going to be easily over 100,000 words, which is a lot. Like, I'm not probably going to hit that by the end of the year because my first draft, I don't worry about word counts. I just get the words down, and then that's one of the rounds of editing that I do. But it's going to be a big book for me. I don't know how big it's going to end up being because right now, like, I don't write in the formatted pages that it's going to end up being. I just write in a traditional whatever it is on like Google Docs. And then once it's like done-ish, and it's like the final stages of stuff, then I change it over, and then my word pages magically like expands immensely, and you're like, look at me go. But that's a very far, far way into the future. And I also keep every chapter as a separate document, so they don't intermingle, so I don't actually know how many pages I really have. I just have a running word count just because I need to have that in my brain of like, look at me go. So I have like a Google Sheets for it, and I just keep track that way. So anyways, that is going to be it for my first update on my death book. I don't know how often I'm going to do these because I don't want to like bog down the channel too much about it, because I have a writing channel, but I'm also not talking about my witchcraft book over there much, so like it's a weird place to be. A huge thank you to my patrons. I'll have their names here on the screen. If you'd like to support me and get access to exclusive content, it is patreon.com/nightwillowcrafts. Do make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I post every single day, and until tomorrow, thank you so much for watching, and blessed be.